Hello, everyone. There was a Nintendo Direct on the 23rd, and we're here to talk about it. I am joined by honorary crew member Nathanael of Nathan Blake Games.
Hello.
And let's get right into it. So, the Nintendo Direct, it was about 40 minutes long. It was pretty substantial. There was a lot. There's a lot to go over, so we may be here for a while. So let's start with the first game announced. It's not really a game. It's an expansion pack to a game, and I forgot that expansion packs were a thing. But I don't think they explicitly called it expansion pack. I think they just said expansion, but still, was Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. So I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, but I haven't picked up Rise because unfortunately I just don't have time for that sort of stuff anymore. Well, I shouldn't say anymore. I want to get back into the series at some point, but at this current point in my life, unfortunately, I just don't have enough time to spare. So it's probably going to be one or two games down the road before I can pick it up. And so this announcement really has no really didn't hold a whole lot of weight for me personally, but I know some of my coworkers like Monster Hunter Rise. I'll have to ask them and see what their opinion on the matter is. Nathaniel, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I just have never really played hardly any Monster Hunter. I've said in previous podcasts slash direct responses and stuff that
Live
I've
streams or
tried.
attempts to
Yeah,
live stream?
yeah, live streams, attempts to live stream, those sorts of things. That I've just never quite gotten into it, and lots of my friends play it. So you make a good point. I should check with my one friend. Like probably the major effect this is going to happen on me is that Trevor, my friend, is going to talk about it a lot. I'll check with him and see what's up with him. I probably will eventually play Monster Hunter Stories because the second one of those came out fairly recently, and I saw a little bit of stuff about it and was like, actually, that looks pretty decent, pretty cool. Or maybe it's about to come out, one of those things.
I think Monster Hunter Stories 2 it has been out for a few months now, actually.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so I might look into that because I've only recently gotten into playing very many JRPGs, and I've been streaming JRPGs a lot on my Twitch. So it might be something to look into. So yeah.
Well, the next game that they showcased is Mario Party Superstars. So I haven't played a Mario Party game since I think I rented four or five, whichever one had like the. I think it was the one with the day-night cycle, but I haven't played it since the GameCube. What about
They
you,
have a
Nathaniel?
microphone.
You big Mario Party guy?
I've always really enjoyed Mario Party. My like one of my earlier Mario Party memories is playing Mario Party 2. We rented it from Blockbuster, and so that is one of the cool things with this one is that it really seems like they're listening to the fans, and they like when Mario Party Top 100 came out, there was a lot of trash talking about how they put a bunch of crappy stuff from like Mario Party 7 and stuff in it, and they were like, "What is all this garbage? We want stuff from the original, cooler stuff." And yeah, they announced a couple of levels yesterday on the direct that are from the first couple of games. So even the Spooky World one, whatever it was, Horrorland or
Horrorland,
something.
yes.
Yeah, Horrorland. And so I just hope that they give Yoshi his little witch hat again because that was great.
Well, we saw some footage from there. Were they wearing their costumes in that?
I don't think so. I was disappointed. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping maybe it'll pop up in the final game.
Or maybe here's an idea. Maybe you can unlock the costumes.
Yeah, or they'll sell it as DLC later on or something.
No, with the Mario Party game, I think they just make it free DLC.
Yeah, I think they tend to.
But
So yeah,
yeah, I'm not a Mario Party guy, obviously, and I don't think I'm going to be trying to get back into the series. I don't have any friends to play with, and like I mean, obviously I have friends online. I don't know, it may have online multiplayer. That's not going to change my mind. That's not the issue.
the
I'm
the the multiplayer in this one is supposed to be a lot better online. That was a big deal in Super Mario Party. if your internet plunked out mid game, you would just lose your game. And so this is actually a supposedly it will pick up right where you left off whenever you get back on. So that's probably one of the bigger things as far as the internet stuff for this one. So that should be really cool as long as that works out. Because yeah, Super Mario Party was really good, and I really enjoyed a lot of things about it. But you just couldn't play it online because I mean games are long, and sometimes internet connections just drop out for like half a second, and if that just
I know that.
ruins the whole game.
Yeah, yeah. I know as well. I know pretty well from my attempts to live stream on this channel. That's a problem
Yes.
for me.
So that's kind of maybe a big deal if they get that going, like with good internet. So
All right, so next up is Voice of Cards. And so this one's interesting. I think they said that Yoko Taro is involved with it, and I haven't played any Yoko Taro games, but he is the guy with like the big. It almost sort of looks like a Square Enixified Majora's Mask Moon hat, right?
nice. Yeah.
He's the near guy.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yoko Taro is making, and they said this is like a Switch exclusive, right? So Yoko Taro is making a Switch
Yeah.
exclusive. That's interesting.
Apparently so. Yeah.
Um, I have no interest in this game.
Yeah. Well, whenever they very first announced it and they showed, like, they mentioned it was a card game, and I was fine with that initially. And then they showed the main characters, and they had the little text blurbs about them and stuff. I was like kind of getting pumped because I was like looking forward to the drawn aesthetic that they had because the cards looked like they were
Oh yeah,
hand drawn.
The art is quite good.
Yeah, art looked really cool and stuff. And then they got into the actual gameplay, which appeared to just be a chess piece moving around a bland set of bland cards on the table, and occasionally a well-drawn card would pop up. And I was like, nope, not interesting. I'm not. There's nothing to hook me there anymore. Like,
Yeah, and also they're trying to. This is a weird thing with video games now is they're trying to turn video games into like board games and tabletop games.
right. And it's so strange because the board game renaissance from that really started probably really got going 5 years ago, but started like 10 years ago. Has really made board games like a real thing that people really enjoy. There's board game shops all over the place now. But at the end of the day, all of those are getting really cool because the board game companies are saying, what if we make board games that are more like video games? So we'll put all of these mechanics into them and stuff. There's even a Lord of the Rings one that I have that you like start up an app, and the app actually runs the campaign for you and tells it, like, randomizes things, and it asks you what turn you're on, and then says, oh, if you're on turn 5, then like bring in orcs and have them start moving in from the south side or whatever, like it actually plays like a video game because the app works as the DM for all intents and purposes. Some really cool stuff. But the reason they're cool is because they're becoming more like video games. And so for us to go the other way back in to say, what if our video games were more like board games is weird.
So I just realized that there's probably a lot of money to be made for an app that like is a DM's assistant that runs on your phone
True.
or a tablet.
That's really true.
Yeah.
Or even just is a DM.
Or yeah, it
just
is a DM. I could make a lot
it
of
just
money.
rolls up random scenarios for you so that you can play D&D with your friends without having to have a DM.
Actually find it. You find a way to convert adventure modules into like a format that it can like. It's sort of like hyperlinked or something.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
There's an idea.
Yep.
It's a shame I spec'd heavily into video game development. Otherwise, I would do that. Anyway, but yeah. A final note is this game reminded me a lot of a game I actually do like to play called Into the Weirding Woods, where you move pieces around and you have like little cards that act as encounters and stuff. So if this game looked interesting, I highly recommend you go check out that game. It's a tabletop game. It's not a video game. But okay, so up next is Chocobo GP. GP means Grand Prix, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So Chocobo GP, and just watch the footage for a second. and blot out from your mind's eye the Chocobo, the White Mage, the Black Mage, Gilgamesh, and whatever else is there. And just think about the racetrack and everything. And let me ask you something. Can you tell it's a Final Fantasy game?
Nope, it is a bug standard Mario Kart clone.
Yeah, and that kills me because it's like Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy has an aesthetic. It
Yep.
has a look,
Yep.
but
I don't understand really why they didn't go with the more Final Fantasy. Like, it's because they want the same audience as Mario Kart, but they totally could have gone the Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 10 style and had it be just a little bit grungier and like everything's really
or just
edgy
go full
looking and
Final Fantasy
stuff.
9. Like Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
you could have
9 has a
gone 9, yeah.
really great, cutesy, child-friendly looking aesthetic.
Yeah.
I haven't played Final Fantasy 9, so I'm not saying I recommend it for your children, but
Yeah, no, yeah, everything is really round in that
yeah,
game.
it's
It's
got
true.
storybook. That's how I would describe it. It's got
Yeah,
like a
it's very
storybook
storybooky.
aesthetic.
So that would have worked too. But yeah, like I was watching somebody play Peanut Butter Gamer play the Garfield Racers game just a couple days ago,
Hmm.
and you could take Chocobo GP and you could replace all the characters with characters from the Garfield comic strips, and it would look nearly identical to the Garfield Racing game. I hope that it is higher quality than Garfield Racing game because there was super glitchy and stuff. And that's what I assume. I assume it's going to be a very middling to high tier Mario Kart clone. But if you look at everything that you see in those videos, there is nothing there that is new or interesting. They have the power ups are almost the same, and everything is pretty much just like Mario Kart. And you'd love to see them do something like Diddy Kong Racing was, a amazing kart racer that had like really unique ideas, and it had the adventure mode, and it had flying planes and boats, and they had different types of battle modes and stuff where you're like capturing eggs from other people's nests and stuff. There was some really awesome stuff in there. I'd love to see somebody try to do something new with the kart racing genre. And you'd think that Final Fantasy being good with story and having such a huge roster of things to pick from and everything that they could do it, but they just said, let's just do Mario Kart with chocobos.
With a chocobo, because all the other characters are.
I thought
And
there was one more chocobo. There
was
wasn't there a red chocobo or a black chocobo or something. I
if
thought
there
there was
was,
there at the end.
I didn't notice it, but my
Yep.
eyes were glazed over at the time. So
Right.
okay, so up next, Disco Elysium. Um, I've heard good things about it. I just it doesn't interest me.
Yep.
The art style and the name Disco Elysium is just. I, I'm sorry that I have this. No, I'm not going to go there because that's actually a slightly different issue. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like sometimes you can present yourself as a little bit too, um, I guess, postmodern, and it's one of those things where
Mhm.
it just again it makes people's eyes kind of glaze over, and you're just like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I don't see the storyline itself right at the very beginning when they were explaining it sounded a little interesting, but I didn't like the art style very much, and I didn't like what the gameplay looked like very much. And I'm not talking trash about it. Like I've heard good things for
Oh
a
yeah, it's
while
probably a
about it.
very good game. It's just not a very
So
good game that interests me, and
yeah, so
that's
I'm
fine.
just I literally have over 1,000 games in my Steam library, and I've probably played maybe 5 to 10% of that. So I don't need new games.
Well, just type in the search bar Disco Elysium and see if it's one of them.
That's a good question.
You may have bought it in a bundle or on sale and not remember it.
That's a good question. I'm very curious now. I don't think that I have it. I'm pretty sure it's not. I have a surprisingly good memory for the games that are in my library, given how many there are, and I don't remember Disco Elysium being in there, but it could be. Nope, I don't. Okay. That would have been hilarious.
All right, so up next is Age of Calamity DLC. And so we've both played Age of Calamity, I know. Um, pass. I
Yeah,
don't
I
mean
don't.
like the DLC pass, which is where you have to buy everything together. I mean like I'm passing on purchasing the DLC pass.
Yeah, yeah, I don't need any more Age of Calamity. Honestly,
There's just so
I've
much of it to begin with.
there's so much of it. It becomes a little samey after a while because it's that hack and slash like destroying armies sort of stuff, which always becomes a little tedious whenever you start leveling up and get better. Like, I've been playing Warriors games since I was 12, I think.
Hmm.
I played Dynasty Warriors 4 with my buddy Christopher a whole lot, and I've just been playing them off and on since then. And they all have this issue of once you get to a certain point in the game and you're leveled up and stuff and things become easy, it's just like it all just blurs together and it stops being as much fun. So, if it had more unique characters that I wasn't already really used to, like since they are the Breath of the Wild characters, I'm having a lot less of like oh, who's this character and what are they like? I'm like, I know who this person is, I know what they're like, and I'm finished being around them. So if it had more unique and interesting characters that I didn't already know all about, or character creation, that would be a cool thing.
Mm,
Something like that, I would I
that
would
would
be
be
down for
cool.
more. But I'm just kind of full up on Hyrule Warriors stuff because I did finish all of the original Hyrule Warriors, a definitive edition on Switch just a couple years ago, and then Age of Calamity came out, and I'm like halfway through it, and I'm just like getting really bogged down in the tedium of it at this point. So
Yeah. Um, and we will be doing a podcast on that eventually. So if you want to hear our full thoughts on Age of Calamity, stay tuned. Um, let's see. So up next is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the final Fighters Pass 3, or is it Fighters Pass Season 3? I forget. The final Sakurai Presents is going to be on October 5th.
Yep. I think it's a little sad for me. It's kind of the end of an era. Like I've had a whole lot of fun taking Super Smash Brothers Ultimate over to family's house and stuff, and like I went and bought 8 extra, or really 7 extra controllers, the corded ones at Walmart, so that I could just carry a literal trash bag of controllers around with me when I would go to friends and family's house. I'd show up with my Switch and a trash bag of controllers, and I'd hook it all up, and we all play together, and had a whole lot of fun with it.
That is an
And so,
evocative image.
yeah, just a lot of fun for a couple of years now, and I just don't expect we're ever gonna get Super Smash Brothers Super Ultimate like on the next Switch 2 or whatever, the Switch Ultimate or whatever you want to call it. A few years down the road, that's gonna have 100 characters or something. So it does feel like we're kind of hitting a weird point. It's definitely a landmark moment in video game history, I think,
Mhm.
because Super Smash Brothers being something that has brought together so many different people and so many different franchises and stuff, seeing it kind of end is it's kind of really cool and kind of really sad at the same time.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the next game, assuming that they make a next game and they don't just keep re-releasing this one, I think the next game is going to be they're going to have to take it in a different direction or something to sort of just kind of reset things because I don't think that this is tenable. Um, but yeah, me personally, I'm not like I kind of agree with what you're saying. There is definitely a curiosity because this is such a big, huge landmark moment for or landmark game for Nintendo. But at the same time, uh, I'm kind of I'm not really that interested in Smash anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but so the next game, however, is one that I am really excited about, and that's Kirby and the Forgotten Land. So Kirby is finally going into 3 dimensions. A 3D platformer. Um, so it's time to party like it's 1997. It's just
So wild that it has taken Kirby so long. Like I mean, in a way, I get it. Like Nintendo brought out Mario 64,
mhm.
and they dominated 3D platformers. And I kind of get it that they were like, you know what? We only need one flagship character who carries 3D platforming because he's the best. And they just dropped the mic and walked off. and they said none of our other franchises need to be involved with this. I guess that's what happened. But you just kind of figure that like Kirby has been a major platforming character with an incredibly loyal fan base for a really long time. How is this the first true 3D platformer from them?
I don't know. It just it boggles the mind. But like I had this big dumb grin on my face the whole time. It's I think I was making that face that what's the name of the character from Parks and Recreation? He's kind of a meme. Chris Pratt played him. He's sort of like,
Chris Pratt?
why is there something about
um,
Chris Pratt? Yeah,
what
he's a
is?
funny guy. I know,
Yeah,
but
he's really enjoyable. I like Chris Pratt a lot. Um, what was his character in that show? I've only seen
yeah,
that show a little bit.
I think his name was Andy.
It was
Yeah,
Andy.
and it's
I
that meme where he's doing sort of like the
yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah,
kind of had that
absolutely.
look on my face. Well, really, so I have this weird reaction where when something like overwhelms me with just how surprising and cool it is, I just start laughing.
Right. Just like whoa. Yep, I get you. Yeah.
So, I am really excited about this, and I have to say, like, just the aesthetics of this, like, it takes place in this sort of overgrown, abandoned city,
Yeah,
kind
very. And that's a good question. Is this confirmation of the old theories that Kirby is set well after the world has ended in our universe? Because like
Oh,
there's that
Kirby
theory,
64 confirmed that, but that wasn't the world froze over.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
So I
guess
know
they
that,
got the whole global warming thing backwards.
right. Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Is there was I think it was Kirby 64 had a planet that was clearly Earth frozen,
Yeah, Shiver
but they
Star.
didn't. Yeah, they call it Shiver Star. They didn't actually say it was Earth, but
Hmm.
like everyone's kind of been like, well, I mean, you can see the North American continent
Yeah,
right
you
there
can
on
see the
it. So it's
continents, and then there are like abandoned shopping malls, and
yeah. So we're
so
just continuing to lean into that post-apocalyptic our world thing, but now it's just going to be like the Mall of America or whatever.
yeah. And I have to admit, I have a bit of a soft spot for like what I'll call the verdant post-apocalyptic settings, where it's like kind of overgrown and it's not like full of zombies or whatever. It's just like, oh yeah, this
Right.
is an abandoned city that's overgrown and no one lives here anymore.
Right. The more like nature has taken the world back
Hmm.
sort of vibe, as opposed to like everything's horribly destroyed and awful now and it's gross to look at.
Yeah. So I'm really digging this aesthetic. I think it's really nice to see a Kirby game that's kind of sticking to a theme. I mean, I guess Kirby Planet Robobot had a theme, but it was the typical sugar coated kind of Kirby aesthetics slapped onto the mechanical aspect. So it was kind of easy for you to just in the back of your mind filter it out. But it's really nice to see a Kirby game that has like some strong theming in the environments and stuff. So I am super excited for this.
Well, not to mention too, and I was just now thinking this. This is going to be the first Kirby game. Well, there could have been one more recently that I'm not thinking of, but there haven't been very many Kirby games in a while that were just Kirby running around in a Kirby world. Like we had the Epic Yarn games, and we had Robobot, and I'm trying to think of any other ones.
So Robobot Triple Deluxe.
Okay, Triple
Um,
Deluxe. Was that one more of a normal Kirby
it
game?
was a very normal Kirby game.
Okay, so that was the last one we had, but
Well, no,
in
there
the
were Star
last.
Allies as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kirby
That's
games are
right.
one of those things that if you're not like paying very close attention to them, they just kind of come and go sometimes. Like
Yeah,
Star
they
Allies
just kind
was
of.
kind of it came and it went.
Yeah, I forgot that one even existed, to be entirely honest. But yeah, it is interesting to see some more normal Kirby games coming out because in the past couple of generations, we've had more not normal Kirby games than we've had normal Kirby games.
Yeah.
Um, so that's actually kind of cool to see. And they're just like, well, what can we do different? Well, we can make it 3D.
Yeah, well, and they've been hyping up the next Kirby game. If you've been paying attention, is they've been talking about how they want to revolutionize Kirby and do like break boundaries and stuff, which is something you never hear about
Right.
Kirby. But
I mean, adding a whole new dimension to it, that breaks some boundaries, right?
yeah. Ah, gosh, I love how. God, who was it that was presenting this presentation? I'm terrible with names. Was it Koizumi?
I think it might have been. Yeah, that sounds right. I think so.
But he said, yes, in this Kirby game you can freely move in multiple directions, and he like says that in just such like a nonchalant way, where it's like, yeah, whatever. It's it's just how you play the game.
Oh,
It's not a big deal or
it's like
anything.
in this Kirby game, it would be like Super Mario 64. Moving on.
Well, actually, that raises a good question. I think it's going to be more like Super Mario 3D Land. I think it's going to be more level based.
It might be. I actually like, and this is probably just based on graphics and like just where we're at
Mm-hmm.
in platforming and stuff right now. But it gave me more of an Odyssey feel
Okay.
than anything else, if I'm being honest. So I don't know. We'll
Well,
see.
we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, so after that, we have an announcement for Animal Crossing, some new content coming, and a direct, Animal Crossing themed direct, also in October.
Yeah, we had very, 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 very little information on what's actually going to be in the new stuff. Um, I think there was something of an announcement with the cafe there. If you know what's going on in Animal Crossing right now, which I don't because I haven't played in a while. But then on top of that, we just get the announcement that we get more information later, which I think for Animal Crossing fans is a little bittersweet as far as them being like, oh, there's Animal Crossing stuff coming out, and then being like, oh wait, not really yet because we don't know like we don't hear about it yet. But then I mean they get a whole day, so that's kind of cool, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna get their whole direct in October, so that's kind of cool.
Yep. I haven't played Animal Crossing in over a year. My villagers are probably wondering where I've been. I'm sure my character's face is on milk cartons by now. Um,
The problem with Animal Crossing is it's the opposite of sunk cost fallacy. The second you stop playing, you start like saying, I can't go back now because my villagers will hate me and my town will be full of weeds and bugs. Like,
my issue with Animal Crossing is the way I would describe it is for a life simulator, it feels more like looking at a diorama than playing in a dollhouse. If that
yeah,
makes any sense. Like The Sims, I feel like I'm playing with. I'm actually able to interact with the world in a variety of ways. Animal Crossing is you just sort of walk up to something and touch it with both of your hands and it does a thing, and
right.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's all there is
Yeah,
to it.
I'm a much bigger Harvest Moon fan, or rather Story of Seasons fan, than I am an Animal Crossing fan. Although I did really love Animal Crossing on the GameCube, and I've been ever since I've been trying to get back into it with each iteration. And New Horizons did grab me for a couple of months.
It was the
Although I
first one I
might,
played since the GameCube, so
yeah,
you know,
it definitely I might blame COVID more than anything, but it was fun for a good chunk of time there.
all right.
So
But yeah, anyway, not too interesting for me at least. Uh, Mario Golf Tour is getting free DLC. Nathaniel, thoughts?
I haven't played any Mario Golf Tour yet. I'm excited that people who like it are getting free DLC and that there's new characters and stuff. That's neat. But I just or new character I think. Oh no, there was two. There was the ninja too.
Oh yeah,
So a
yeah.
couple new.
Interesting thing about Ninja. I did not know those were buttons. I thought they were like blushes.
Yeah, I did too. I don't know. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a cool thing that people are getting new content for that. I may play it at some point. I'm one of those people that if one of the Mario sports games is like really cheap on sale, I'll pick it up. I have Mario Tennis Aces for the Switch because I got it for $13 at Walmart on clearance, and I haven't played it yet, and I've had it for 2 years. But it's in my bag with all my other games because if anybody's ever like, I'm bored of this game, I can be like, we can play tennis.
Okay, so next they announced Disney Magical World 2. And after that, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Have you ever played?
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is one of my very favorite games of all time. I've gone back and played it multiple times on both the computer and on my phone because the same company that is re-releasing it on the Switch and who is working on the PlayStation 5 remake which is why I bought a PlayStation 5 specifically because that's coming out on it. Um, that's how much I love Knights of the Old Republic. Also made it. They also released it on the phone, and so I have played it on my phone a couple times. Although I think I've only beaten it a handful of times. I've played big chunks of the game like 15 or 20 times. I love that game so much. I'm thinking about getting on the Switch just because I love the game so
Yeah,
much.
and this is a port of the original, not the remake.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the remake will not be out for probably another year or two, but this is, I would say, kind of people them kind of priming people for it because it was be really easy for them to port over their like smartphone version of the game over onto the Switch. Because I mean, the Switch is, I love the Switch, but it is a glorified smartphone as far as like what's inside of it, the chips that it uses and the screen that it has and stuff. And so it's very easy for them to port those things over and put it in there. So if anyone likes Star Wars and is looking for a cool RPG, or if they like Dungeons and Dragons, this is an excellent thing. You can in Knights of the Old Republic, you can even actually go into the menus and look through like the dialogue stuff, and you can actually switch a filter, and it'll actually show you what your rolls were when you did attacks.
Oh wow, that's
Like,
really cool.
yeah, it has the actual D20 system in there for you to see if you want to. And it's really cool. It's just a really enjoyable game. It has a great story. It was where BioWare really started getting the hang of all of the good things that are in like the Mass Effect games, and before they started doing all the things that people got frustrated with in the Mass Effect games. So it's a great sweet spot.
All right. Well, I unfortunately I don't have time. That's gonna be the chorus to basically my life. Is that I don't have the time for that, and also I'm gonna admit I'm not really the biggest Star Wars fan.
Huh?
Um,
That's okay.
yeah,
Not everyone has to be.
but here's the thing though: is it was something that I was in denial about for the longest time.
Right, you're like, I'm a homeschooled nerd. I have to like Star
Yeah, well, it wasn't
Wars.
even like I was lying to other people. I was lying to myself.
Right.
Because I remember walking out of episode 7 and thinking and having the realization that like I felt nothing throughout that entire movie.
Oh goodness.
And
Yeah. You should have either felt really excited or pure rage. It shouldn't have been nothing.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, and then I think back on it, it's like, wait, every time I've gone to see a Star Wars movie, I have felt nothing.
That's hilarious.
And it was
Yeah.
like this weird existential moment for me, this realization that this whole time, because who doesn't like Star Wars?
Right.
And
Yep.
so yeah.
I wore the episode 4 VHS out. I would watch it like every couple of weeks. I would rewatch A New Hope because I've always been a huge Star Wars fan.
But anyway, so after that, Dying Light 2, Stay Human, and Dying Light Platinum Edition. And what's interesting about this is Dying Light 2 is going to be a cloud game, but Platinum Edition, it sounds like it's actually going to be, as we in the biz say, running on metal.
Yeah, that does. They did say specifically that Dying Light 2 was cloud, and then whenever they said Dying Light Platinum Edition, it did not say anything about cloud on it. So it does seem like you're going to just play that right on the console.
Yeah. Also, Dying Light Platinum Edition. Uh, from what little I could see, they didn't show any well lit shots. I could see, the graphics are going to be terrible.
Yeah, likely so.
Because what little I could see through by the like the firelight or whatever it was in that trailer, looked pretty bad. But yeah, I'm glad that people have the option to play these games on their Switch with cloud gaming. But I'm very skeptical. I've mentioned this before in the past. I'm very skeptical of cloud anything because I don't like stuff that takes ownership away from the consumer. Because maybe someone like maybe this is it turns out to be, it doesn't do well commercially, but it has a really dedicated fan base. And if this is like only on the cloud, then you end up with a game where it's like, well, not many people played this game. It wasn't very popular, so we're just going to stop hosting this. And then, that game's gone forever because no one has a backup of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a difficult slope that we're kind of on right now because so like I just purchased finally after trying for days and days and almost getting scammed. I purchased a PlayStation 5 and I went with the digital edition because it's $100 cheaper and I am well aware that if I bought the disc version,
Hmm.
I would put my game in the disc drive and then it would connect to the internet and then put 30 or 40 gigabytes of data onto the hard drive of my console anyway. And then it would just essentially be checking the disk for,
DRM
the
purposes.
license. Yeah, that would be it. And so it's like we're actually in a rough point where, like, if they don't want me to play a game that I own the physical copy of, they'll just not let me play it anyway. Like,
Hmm.
whatever. And so the cloud thing is, yeah, I'm totally there with you that like if there's ever a reason why the cloud service shuts down or they don't like there's something in the game that's like with our council culture and stuff like that, they just say, oh, this game's not good anymore, and they get rid of it, then you just lose it. But I'm not sure that discs are much safer right now,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, the
It's
thing
a
about
weird
disks is
place.
you can extract that data from your hard drive and you can back it
Mhm.
up somewhere else.
Mhm.
That
That's
is,
true.
with the cloud, you're literally just sending input and it's streaming video back.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So there is a difference, if even if it to the average consumer doesn't seem like it. And let me make something clear. I'm not saying it's bad that you have the option to play on the cloud. Okay,
Right.
I am perfectly fine with more options. I'm just concerned that eventually they're going to take away some of our options.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Now, all that said, Dying Light 1 was pretty dang good whenever I played it for a while on PC.
oh, really?
I
I
don't,
I remember like it getting mentioned in like E3 and then never heard from it again. So I'm surprised to hear
yeah.
it was good.
Yeah, it actually had a pretty decent little following there. It is a parkour shooter zombie game where you're like running through a city and like jumping from building to building. And if you
So
land on the
it's what is that game with the girl who has the face tattoo?
Mirror's
Yeah,
Edge,
it's Mirror's Edge
yeah.
meets Last of Us.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So if you ever fall off of structures and land on the ground, then the zombies start coming after you and you're in a big
Oh, so
trouble.
it's like
So,
Sonic the Hedgehog. You want to stay on the upper path.
right. So it
So
is
Mirror's
pretty
Edge
fun.
meets Sonic the Hedgehog. Actually, we can
Yeah.
just strip out Mirror's Edge because Sonic the Hedgehog has some parkour mechanics in certain games. Well,
Right.
but then again, the Hedgehog isn't a first-person shooter. I mean, there was
It's
Shadow
not,
the
no.
Hedgehog, but that was third person. So,
Right. But yeah, it's pretty fun. I beat the first big chapter of it, which I think is about a third of it, and was really enjoying it, and then just kind of got away from it, and I have since wanted to get back to it, but its whole thing is that you're in this big open world city thing, like jumping from building to building to building. I don't feel like that's going to translate super well to the hardware of the Switch, honestly,
mhm.
just because, like you said, it didn't look super great on there. Probably because it's having to render a whole lot of moving parts in that open world, and it's just not going to run super smoothly at any high resolution. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and the thing is, there are games that look good on the Switch. So I think part of it is just that the AAA development pipeline just doesn't translate
right,
to the Switch. It's like you can make a game that has reasonably realistic looking graphics look good on the Switch. It just they never do for some reason. I think it's like
yep,
I think it's because those games aren't originally made with the Switch as a consideration.
right,
But
absolutely, yeah.
we have talked way longer about this than I ever intended. So triangle strategy. This was mostly just updates on like the demo and all of that. Did you play the demo?
I didn't. I was going to initially, and then I decided that maybe I would just leave it all until I was actually playing the real game because I'm pretty excited about it, honestly. So I didn't really, you know, Final Fantasy Tactics is very high on my list in the top 50 at least, if not the top 10. And so this looks enough like Final Fantasy Tactics that I've just kind of been like, woo, the whole time. I also like your choices having a profound effect on the storyline, and that looks like a big part of it as well. So
Yeah,
I'm
my
I'm
only
really
concern
pumped
about
for it.
the story choices, I've expressed this in the past, but it's my only concern about that is where it's like, you have these three virtues that they're kind of pushing as the
Mhm.
theme, this balance between all of them. And my major concern about that is if they like make them needlessly mutually exclusive. Like obviously
Right.
some of those are going to be in conflict at different points, and
Yeah.
that's good. That's part of the
Yeah.
game. But I would like it if sometimes two of them like overlap, where it's like,
Right.
oh, you can make
Yeah.
this decision, and you're not going to tick off people who what was it
Right.
like liberty, morality, and
Yeah.
there was the last one.
I don't remember what the other one
I'm sure
is.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying for sure. Hopefully, they're running for a. It would work best if they had a point system where
Mhm.
each choice was worth 3 points in one, 2 points in the other, and 1 point in the other. Or sometimes they could be more even than that. And so, because there is an issue, and this comes up in things like Knights of the Old Republic or a bunch of the other BioWare games, honestly, mostly BioWare games. But when you have some sort of morality system in a game, you do have the issue of like you clearly know what the right choice is for whatever ending you're trying to get.
Mhm.
There's no gray area. Everything is super black and white. If you're playing Knights of the Old Republic, your choices generally are: do you give the poor man all of your money, or do you stab him in the throat several times? It's like there's no in between.
Yeah,
So
why can't I
like,
just like give him all my money, but shove it down his throat so he chokes on it? It's the best of both worlds.
so yeah, I do definitely hope they could go with a system based on points as opposed to just this choice leads down this path, this choice leads down that path,
Mhm.
and that choice leads down that path. And hope, I mean, you would think with three separate systems instead of just two, whereas a lot of them are good and bad, and this one is three separate, somewhat equal ideals.
Yeah,
Um,
I have to say I like the fact that it's not like you have good, bad, and then other. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's like no,
right.
each of these you could argue is good from a
Yeah,
certain
they're
point of view. Hmm.
virtues. They're generally speaking virtues. And so, yeah, choosing which virtue is most important to you is and since there's three of them, I feel like it will have to be more balanced for it to work at all. So again, we'll just have to see. I do what I did see from the video there was that they were mostly just saying, "Hey, we listened to you guys and we are fixing some of these problems." And the things that they said that they fixed on there, like I said, I haven't played the demo yet, but if those things weren't in the demo, I would have been really frustrated. So I'm glad that they fixed those things.
So the next thing they talked about is Metroid Dread, and there wasn't really any major revelations here. They talked a little bit about the environments and like Chozo and stuff, but that makes sense because Metroid Dread's coming out on the 8th, which is like what 2 weeks from now.
Right. Yeah, no reason to like break out a whole bunch of new information about it. Just a little bit to get people hyped and remind them that it's just about to come out is all they really needed to do. Still looks good.
Hmm.
It actually maybe looks a little smoother graphically than I thought it did in the last one. So I don't know if they
That could
just
be.
like have applied some more anti-aliasing to it or something since then and optimized it a little bit. I felt like there were more jaggies on things last time, so that I mean, maybe they got it looking a little bit smoother now, which is good because that was my only main complaint when I saw it in the first one was uh looks neat but actually looks like it should be a 3DS game instead of a Switch game
Yeah. Well, for
like
all we know, it might
graphically.
be running off the same engine as Samus Returns.
Yep.
Yeah. So I take it you're going to be picking up Metroid Dread.
Eventually, I probably won't get it like day one, because I'm enough of a Metroid fan that I definitely want to play it, but I have plenty of games to play right now. So
I can relate. I am going to be getting it day one. I've actually already pre-ordered it from Best Buy, but they gave me like a birthday code. And it's like whatever, a discount code for my birthday. It's like, what do I spend this on? It's expiring in like 2 hours. Metroid Dread.
yeah, that works.
um, okay, so next up is the excuse me, my voice is getting a little weird on me. Um, Next up, they announced that they're expanding Nintendo Switch Online to include N64 games, Sega Genesis, and a higher price point. Wait, what?
Yeah, I was hearing the rumors come out just day before yesterday, so just right before this, and they were talking about how N64 was all but confirmed for it. A new price point was all but confirmed. They did think that there was going to be Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games coming out on it, but that didn't end up coming true. But they did say, one of the leakers was saying, it was going to be Game Boy Color, N64, and another system that had yet to be talked about. And so the fact that we ended up with Sega Genesis is cool. A little bit surprising,
Yeah, it
but
reminds me of the Wii days, back when you could get Sega Genesis games on the Virtual
yeah,
Console.
yeah,
Which I'm glad to see Sega Genesis return. I'm glad to see N64 games.
hmm
The Nintendo Switch Online, I am a member because Scott let me in on his family plan, so it's like $4.50 a year.
right.
Um, I have to say, I'm not really sure. I'm convinced that, and they haven't announced the price point or anything like that, but I'm not really convinced that these new games are really going to justify the price point because it's not that great. I don't play online a whole lot, but I hear a lot of people say it's not that great of a service to begin with. And
hmm
this is something that Nintendo used to give us for free. Not the video games, but being able to play online.
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly it's just a problematic situation to be in because Nintendo is offering cheaper online service than any of the other guys, and is offering games as a service, but their service is just not as good. And I mean, if you're any sort of Nintendo fan, then you've probably owned these games in their physical days, and you've also probably owned a lot of them in their digital days on another console in the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a difficult situation to be in because, like, yeah, so like Xbox, obviously, you pay $10 to $15 a month for their online service, and you there are some packages that include their Xbox or Xbox Live Game Pass. That's what it is,
Mm-hmm.
the Xbox Game Pass, which is a bunch of different, more modern games, honestly. So obviously they're kind of in a similar space, except for they're offering it cheaper and with nostalgia. But the service itself, the internet service, is just not as good. Like everyone expects it to be on par with Xbox's internet services or with PlayStation's, and it's just not. You don't, there has never they have never gotten down matchmaking. I don't know why they can't get down matchmaking. You'd think it'd be something that they could do, but like playing online games and getting match made with other people does not work very well, and the internet is shoddy, and meeting up with your own friends can be kind of difficult in some iterations of their online service. So I don't know. It's a difficult place because they're still way cheaper, even if they increase this, like, let's say it's a few dollars a month and it ends up being $10 a year more or something like that. That would probably not be that big of a deal. But I mean, if they're like, oh yeah, it's like $10 a month more for the N64 games and the Sega Genesis games, I'll be holding off until there's GameCube games on there for
Yeah.
sure.
Um, and Also, just an aside. No Landstalker, really? Come on, Nintendo.
I've been really surprised. So what they should have done, I don't know why they didn't do this. The one of the opening games for N64 should have been uh, original Super Smash Brothers.
Hmm.
Like that would have been a big deal, I think, for a lot of people to be able to go back and play like Break the Targets and stuff like that, and just have like a lot of like goofy fun with their friends and play original Smash online with their friends and stuff. And it doesn't take away from Smash Ultimate,
Hmm.
obviously. It's not like a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to play the original Smash because it's better than Ultimate. No, that's not going to happen. But people just have some goofy fun with it for sure.
Yeah. Um. So next up is the Shadowrunner trilogy. I think these were originally released. They look like complete remakes, like in 3D, but I think like they were originally Super Nintendo games.
I think so, yeah. I think the first one or two were Super Nintendo games. I think they had remade them and put them on PC like within the last 15 years or so. So they might be some sort of uh, port of one of those. But yeah, I think I have a couple of those. I don't know for sure.
But yeah, I have no history with this. I think Shadowrunner is like D&D meets Cyberpunk. I think it's based off a tabletop RPG. Other than that, don't know, don't care. Um, Castlevania Advance Collection. I'm not a Castlevania guy. The only Castlevania game I've ever played was that fighting game for the Wii.
Oh no.
So yeah, I don't think that counts.
I don't think it counts. Yep. No, I've played a little bit of the first couple of Castlevanias and had some fun with them. I played Castlevania 64, I believe is which one it was. Although there was two on the 64 and they were both ambiguously named, so I'm afraid I'll say the wrong one if I
Mm-hmm.
actually say 64. But anyway, that one was really pretty fun, but it had that problem that games in that era had where you play it on easy and then you get 3/4 of the way into the game and then it would say, you finished easy mode, start over on hard mode if you want to see how the story ends. And you'd be like, the heck, man. So I never finished that one. But that was pretty cool. And then I've just played little tiny bits here and there. I think this actually would be a reasonable place to hop in if a person wanted to play some Castlevania games because these advanced ones are supposed to be some of the very best in the entire series, which is kind of hilarious, all things considered. But they're supposed to be really good.
Yeah,
So
I hear they're
maybe.
really good. I am a little tempted to get it, but seeing as how I can still buy PS1 games on the PlayStation 3 for the time being, at least. I think I'm probably going to see if I can pick up Symphony on the night of the night on
Mhm.
the PlayStation Network uh,
Yep.
instead. And if I like that, maybe I'll pick
Yeah.
up the Advanced Collection.
Yeah. And I think Symphony of the Night is supposed to be like generally perceived as the best one.
Yeah.
So that would be probably the way to go.
After that, they revealed, and I think this is out now. It was like
It
shadow
is.
drop.
It came out the day they said out now.
ActRaiser Renaissance. Is ActRaiser on the Nintendo Switch Online?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
don't. I don't think it is.
So yeah, it's a remake of ActRaiser, which is and it
Yeah.
has like some new content and stuff, which is a classic Super Nintendo cult classic Super Nintendo game.
Right.
It's like an action platformer meets real time
City
strategy
building
city
kind of thing.
builder thing. So it looks
Yeah.
pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, dang it, if I had more time, that's definitely one I would try.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I have a backlog, and based on the how long to beat scores of the
Hmm.
games in it, it's 350 hours long. So I'm
Right.
not buying a game that's just going to go straight into
Yep.
the backlog.
Yep.
I've played that out, and that's how I got to where I am now.
Yep. So for me, this is going to be really interesting because before I started my own YouTube channel, I kicked around in a group called the Doctor Fusion Frequency with some friends. And if you ever want to look up any of that, it's just the Doctor Fusion, or it's just Doctor Fusion is the name of the YouTube channel. Not near as family friendly as my content because my friends were not family friendly content creators. But anyway, I was one of the uh, I was in most of the videos, but not all of them. So I'm kind of somewhere between a guest and a founding member essentially there. But anyway, that to say, my relationship with the Act Razor series uh, is that on that channel, my friend Trevor, the same one who really loves Monster Hunter, we subjected him to all of the games in that sort of weird meta series of Soul Blazer and Terranigma, and like there's a bunch of weird games that are in that same kind of. They're made by the same people, I guess, and they're kind of connected, but they're not really the same
Yeah, there's
series.
I forget what studio it was because they're no longer operational. But yeah, I know
Right.
what you mean.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. I think a lot of them are tangentially connected to each other.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them involve going through dungeons and collecting things and rebuilding towns and stuff. So anyway, we were literally just talking about reviving that channel because one of my friends that was in that group just moved back from New Jersey. So we literally were just talking about reviving that channel and about how we would eventually need to play ActRaiser. And then this popped up, and so like during the direct, I sent a message in the Discord for that channel. I was like, "Hey guys, there's an ActRaiser remake," and so we're gonna have to make Trevor play that. And everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, yeah." So I won't own that personally, but I'm sure somebody in my friend group will own it, and I will be present when it is played, and I'm ready for the ridiculous shenanigans because those games are wild. They are just weird. I'm afraid it might lose some of its charming, badly translated wildness, honestly, in a
Hmm.
more modern remake, but we'll see.
All right, so next up is Deltarune Chapter 2. This is like a kind of a spin-off of Undertale.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I've never played Undertale. I know you're a big Undertale fan. What are your thoughts on this coming to Switch?
Yeah, it should be really, really cool. I beat Undertale a couple of years ago. Really, really had a wonderful experience with it. It's very, very well written, and the music is great.
Hmm.
Haven't gotten around to Deltarune yet. I knew it was a spin-off of it, but just hadn't gotten to it yet. And then Chapter 2 Shadow dropped literally like a week ago or something. It was just like, here's Chapter 2, and everyone was like, what? And it was just there. And I'm assuming maybe that had something to do with this. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Toby Fox got like some of this worked out recently for the Switch, and they said, "Hey, we have our direct coming out on this day. We want to be able to announce it for the Switch on that day." And he was like, "Oh, poop, I wasn't quite ready." Sure. And then he went ahead and got ahead of it so he could sell the or I don't even know if he charges for it or not. I'm not sure,
I
but
think
anyway,
Chapter 2 is
is
paid
paid
for.
for. Yeah, that's what I thought. So then he probably got ahead of it, and that's probably why it was kind of weirdly just out, and everyone was like, "What?" So yeah, this is going to be chapter 1 and chapter 2 on Switch, so it might be a good time for me to go ahead and get into that. I feel like it'll play as well on Switch as it will pretty much anything else, so should be fun. I'm kind of excited about it, so we'll see.
Okay. Let's see. So after that, there was a quick sizzle reel or highlight reel, if you prefer. And so let's just go through this real quick. Stop me if you have anything to say.
I
Uh,
gotta say, I'm really excited about Hot Wheels. I'm just joking.
yeah. So first up is Hot Wheels Unleashed, and I mean they have like a track editor. I think I saw that in the trailer. That
That's
actually
gonna be
stood
fun.
out to me for whatever reason, but I don't. Yeah, nothing else to say about that. Surviving the aftermath. Are we still making zombie game? Wait, is it a zombie game? It's
I actually have no
post-apocalyptic. Actually, I
idea.
don't know if it's a zombie game. So I
I don't know.
apologize. I spoke out of
It's like a
turn.
base building thing, but
Yeah,
that's all I
it's
know about it.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Shin Megami Tensei 5. That's still happening. Do we have a release date for that?
I don't know that they actually did say that. So I really like the Persona series. I've played a couple of them, and they're like Persona 5 is really amazing. But the Megami Tensei games do not have the same like social like simulation aspects. It's a lot more of a traditional JRPG. So I don't know if I'm actually excited for that or not because like I don't know if I want to devote another like 40, 50, 60 hours of my life because those games are so long. To it since it's not going to have a lot of that same like interesting story that goes with you having to like juggle your friends and family and stuff around with dungeon crawling.
Let's see. Next is a game called Wreckfest, which looked like it actually had some decent car deformation damage animation in it.
Didn't I don't even remember seeing that one on the list if I'm
It
being
was just
completely
cars
honest.
crashing together. You probably mistook it for Hot Wheels. Um,
Probably.
let's see. Arcade Archives, Pac-Man, and Xevious.
Okay.
Those don't exist already.
I was pretty sure you could play Pac-Man anywhere, anytime on anything already, including the Switch, but I don't know.
And then Rune Factory 5. And
Yes.
okay, so you're excited
I
about
really
that.
Yes, we finally got a release date. It's like what March 22nd or something. I think they said something like that. I have been waiting for Room Factory 5 for a long time. because I really, really appreciate the Story of Seasons games, and the Rune Factory games spun off from the original Story of
Okay,
Seasons
so
game.
just to stop you for a second, are they related? Because I know it was called the Fantasy Harvest Moon, but I was never quite sure if that was because they had the same publisher here in North America or if they actually have the same developer overseas.
Right. So the developer, I believe, was Xseed, which I think was technically not connected, but it was
I
a
thought that was just the publisher in North America. Is
right.
oh
I'm not 100% sure what the full connection between them is, but it still has the whole dating
okay.
sim like farming aspect to it. So it essentially has spun off into its own thing almost immediately that differentiated itself based on the fact that it was like a dungeon crawlery sort of thing, which was not super great in the first couple, but kept getting better throughout the series. And so they haven't had one in a long time, and they released four, not very long ago on the Switch. And so I'm excited for five to come out eventually, because I'm excited for more fresh, not crappy Harvest Moon style games. Because the last couple of the official Harvest Moon ones have not been good because they weren't really Story of Seasons, and Story of Seasons stuff has not been coming out very often.
Yeah,
And
so for
so
anyone who's not aware, there was a licensing dispute for the name Harvest Moon. So Story of Seasons is in Japan the same series that as Harvest Moon, or at least it was what Harvest Moon was in North America up until this licensing dispute. Harvest Moon now is like different games that I don't even know if they're all like in the same series. They're just being, they're kind of farm themed and they're being marketed as Harvest Moon. And so if you liked Harvest Moon, before the schism, then Story of Seasons is,
yep. Yep, that's just the way it works. And so, but Rune Factory still has a lot of the same like blood in it from Story of Seasons, but then adding in like cool combat stuff and things like that, and some interesting things, and an art style that I actually like more usually than the art style of Story of Seasons or Harvest Moon games. So that's why I'm kind of pumped about it. But they've been just teasing it over and over again for like 3 or 4 years now, so it's definitely time.
yeah. We have been recording for like an hour now, and I just realized I forgot my light.
I could have had
I am
slightly better lighting.
I am sorry, people.
It's okay. It didn't look too bad before. You're all
It
right.
looked
No worries.
terrible. I looked more undead than I normally do. But anyway, I've been meaning to get into Story of Seasons, and I tried to with Rune Factory, but the thing is, I picked up a used copy of Rune Factory Tides of Destiny.
Okay. Yeah, that I don't feel like that was the right place to get in there.
It was not. It was not the right place to get into it. It's not a very good game. I spent a lot of time in it anyway, but um, it's weird. Like getting married, which is kind of a big deal in those games, is like the
Yeah.
last thing you can do in the game because you have to beat the story mode before you
Yeah,
do
and
it.
that can be an issue with Story of Seasons games in general, is that like a lot of times they want you to complete large portions of the main quest to get married. Some of them do make getting married a part of the main quest that happens like halfway through or something, so you can continue on. So it just kind of depends on which one it is.
All right, but so again, I don't have time for this. If I did, I probably would look into it. Um, but so next one. Big, normally the sizzle, it's kind of weird. The sizzle reels normally like right before the end. We had a lot more interesting stuff, a lot more bombshells um, after this. So Shigeru Miyamoto came out and talked about how the Super Mario Brothers animated movie is progressing, and he talked about working with the director, what's his name, uh, and he revealed the release date. First of all, it's going to be December 21st, 2022. So we have a while. It's going to be a Christmas release. I'm probably going to try to see it as close to, I don't know. If the theaters are crowded, I don't like being around people.
I'll probably see it in theaters. I haven't
Oh,
been
I will
watching
see it in
hardly any.
theaters. I'm definitely
Yeah,
seeing it in theaters, and I'm going to be wearing my Mario hat when I do it.
yeah,
But I don't know if I want to see it like the day it comes out
right.
because yeah, I don't like crowds. Um, but he also revealed the cast list, and the internet has been having a heyday with the cast for this. So um, first off, Mario is being played by Chris Pratt. I can barely say it.
I don't understand. I really think that it must have just had to do with like Ryan Reynolds playing Pikachu and with
That's a good point.
whoever it was that played Sonic. Like they're like, oh, these like like famous
Yeah, who
people
was it that
playing.
played Sonic? Randy Cunningham or something?
Maybe. Yeah, he was somebody who's, somewhat well known at
Hmm.
least, and you had heard of
Ben
him before.
Schwartz.
That's who it was, yes. And so, maybe it's that. Maybe Miyamoto just likes Chris Pratt and
Well, he did say he
he
was really cool. So
yeah, he did say he was really
I
cool.
don't
I
know.
think maybe
Maybe Miyamoto and Chris Pratt are like drinking buddies or something.
yeah,
Or
maybe he's a Guardians of the Galaxy fan or a Parks and Recreation fan. I don't know why imagining Miyamoto watching Parks and Rec is hilarious, but it is. Um,
oh
but
man, you
oh,
know who had a really cool mustache in Parks and Recreation?
Ron
Ron
Swanson.
Swanson.
Yeah,
Steve. What
Ron
was his
Swanson.
name? Steve Rutherford or something? Or no, Steve Rutherford Kirk is someone completely different.
Yeah, somebody else. I can't remember what his name is, but yeah, he's Ron
You know,
Swanson's one of
the
the
worst.
characters.
You want to know what the worst part about me not being able to remember his name is? I have a bottle of the Lagavulin that is branded with his face on it in my pantry right now. I should know. I should know this.
That's absolutely hilarious.
Um,
Uh, Nick
Nick
Offerman.
Offerman.
That's
I knew it was an
yeah,
O.
yep, yeah. That's yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I don't think Chris Pratt will do a bad job. I think he'll do a good job. I just don't know if he's the right casting for it. Like,
Yeah, I don't know about his range, to be honest, is because one of the things that I kind of dislike about celebrity voices and cartoons is that they oftentimes just kind of play themselves.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, the only other thing that he has really been in it that I can compare at all to it is the Lego movies.
Yeah, he played
And
the main character, right?
yeah, he was the main character in Lego Movie 1 and 2. And they even actually had him return in Lego Movie 2 as another character who was just him. Literally just him. That was the whole point of the character. The character had been involved with being some sort of spacefaring person and also dinosaurs because Chris Pratt has played roles that are both of those things before. And, he just sounds like him in both of those roles that he was
Okay.
in, and he's does a good job. He's really enjoyable. I think he did an excellent job. I just can't see his voice coming out of Mario's mouth.
Yeah, it just
I mean, if I were to just walk up to you and say it's a Mario, like that, like that's not.
yeah. I keep seeing people saying something like, "Hey, I'm Mario" or whatever whenever that comes up, and it's like, is that some line that he's known for? Or
No, no. I
okay,
mean,
I guess it's
I
just
don't
he
think
has a
so.
very like conversational style of speech or something.
Yeah, no. He just sounds like a normal guy, and he doesn't have an accent of any type that's discernible. He just has the very Hollywood accent of not really having much of an accent because they actually have speech therapists teach accents out of them essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and so like I cannot imagine him putting on a fake Italian accent.
Well,
First of
I
all,
think he did say in like a Twitter or Instagram or something that he is working on the voice.
he
So
is okay. Oh my goodness.
uh,
So I mean, and that's the thing is like I can do a fairly legitimate Mario voice, and I don't sound anything like Mario, at least for the few lines of things that Mario says.
yeah,
It's a
it's
me,
really
I'm
hard to
Mario.
sustain. It's really hard to
Yeah,
sustain a Mario
right.
voice,
I
but
can get out a couple of things. It's a me, I'm Mario. Wahoo! Wah! Wah! I can make a lot of sound effects. As soon as I get into actually like reading something, it's like, it's a me, Mario. I'm Chris Pratt. It's just not actually very good. And then suddenly it turns into Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. Perry the Platypus. Like, it's just very, very quickly changes to something else. So I don't expect him to try to do the real Mario voice.
Yeah. Well, and we've
And
had Mario voiced by other people before
yeah,
Charles Martinet's tenure. So, there was Captain Lou
yeah,
Albano and there were a couple other guys. Bob Hoskins took a crack at it.
yeah.
Let's not talk about that one.
As long as he doesn't sound like, is that the one from the Super Mario movie, the
Yeah,
live
the
action
live
one?
action one, which I
Yeah, as
will
long
I
as he
will
doesn't sound
confess
like
I
him, that should
actually
be fine.
like. I actually like the Super Mario Brothers movie.
You actually like it?
Here's the thing: is it is a terrible adaptation. Man,
So
we're getting really
bad.
off track. But it is if you just take it, like turn your brain off and say, "I want a dumb popcorn flick," like that's like kind of '90s cheese meets '80s bravado. It gets you that. It gets you where you're going.
Okay. All right. Cool. Cool.
But I'm not claiming to have good taste in movies. Okay. Uh, but okay, we have to keep it moving. So Chris Pratt is Mario for some reason. Peach is being played by Anya Taylor Joy, which I'm pretty sure is three first names.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty much. She was in The Queen's Gambit is the Netflix show about playing chess, which was really popular recently. So interestingly enough, even though we've probably never really heard her name before, it's a big get right now.
okay. Um, Next one is, and I apologize, I'm terrible with names, so I don't know hardly any of these people. Uh, Charlie Day as Luigi.
He's just been in like sitcoms and stuff like that. I think mostly like Always Sunny in Philadelphia and stuff like
Okay,
that.
I thought maybe I recognized him from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Like clips I've seen on YouTube. I've never seen a full episode.
Yeah, I've never seen any real stuff from it either, so I didn't fully recognize him either. I was like, I'm sure he's famous.
Okay, so this is the other one that has me really worried. Bowser is being played by Jack Black.
Okay, I'm not worried at all because Jack Black is amazing.
Jack Black is
And
amazing, but I don't think I think his over. Here's the okay. So
he's
Bowser
super
can't be
over the top.
hammy and over the top, and in like the Mario and Luigi games. So I guess we could have an over the top Bowser, but the thing is, Jack Black. Almost anytime Jack Black is playing a character, like I can only imagine Jack Black.
Yeah.
It's like he's not doing a voice. I guess he was. I should walk that back because he was pretty good in Nacho Libre.
He was good in Nacho Libre. Kung Fu Panda was actually really good, and I like even though I know that that's Jack Black,
Mm-hmm.
like I really feel like he did a good job of being that character, and I like you can hear him, and he's definitely Jack Black, but he's Poe,
Yeah.
like he did an excellent job in it. But yeah, I do think it's going to be very difficult for them to get him to be Bowser without it being very like I don't know, instantly a meme. Because
Yeah, I'm
like
I'm
I
just
can't.
afraid that he's not going to be menacing at all. Like
Yeah,
I want
it's true.
Bowser like goofy over the top Bowser. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I like the Paper Mario games. I like the Mario and Luigi games. I'm used to a goofy over the top Bowser, but he's playing the villain here. In those games.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he was playing a villain in some of the Mario and Luigi games and Paper
Yeah,
Mario,
in
but
Paper Mario 1, he's pretty goofy from time to time, but he actually has some like I replayed it very recently.
Mhm.
Literally finished it just like a couple weeks ago. And he does a pretty good job in that one of being like a pretty goofy character. You get that he's maybe not the smartest cookie in the bunch and stuff, but he says some pretty like menacing things in that you're like, whoa, didn't realize that was in there. Like that make you go, wow, he is the villain. So it can be done where he can be goofy and still be very, very villainous. But yeah, I am afraid of seeing an animated version of Bowser say, "Here comes the thunder," or something. And that as soon as I imagine that, I am a little bit afraid. But I just love Jack Black, so
yeah. So Toad is being played by Keegan Michael Key of the comedy duo Key and Peele. At least I think it's the same. I don't know.
yeah, that's him. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They have a lot of really funny stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some of this stuff. They're
So
definitely funny. I'm not
yeah, I
sure
don't.
if he's going like. as Toad? Because doesn't he have kind of a
Yeah,
deep voice?
he has his voice is more baritone, higher baritone probably. It's not super deep or anything, but of course our version of Toad voice that we've had for the last little while is pretty ingrained. But there were other versions, obviously,
Yeah,
like
but
in
it was
Mario's.
always high pitched. I'm pretty sure, unless we want to go back to the Super Mario Brothers movie, where he's what was the guy who played Toad in the Mario Brothers the first movie? It was like the live action movie, I should say, because there actually was
Yeah,
a Japan only movie prior to that. Anyway,
yeah.
um,
There
it was like
was.
Mongo Jones or something. I don't know.
I never
No,
actually
I
knew
think
what
that's the
the name
guy who
was,
did it.
but
It's the summertime song. I
there
don't know.
was.
It was something that was very unlikely to be the name his parents gave him,
Yeah.
but um,
I do think though that there was a deeper voice for Toad in Mario Kart 64. I don't think I'm not saying it was like super deep,
no,
but
it was not super deep.
it was
Probably
certainly
played by a woman,
deeper.
but yeah, definitely not the.
Ah, I'm Toad. Hey guys.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, like as much as that voice is kind of great, it's also kind of
Oh,
terrible.
you
So,
cannot do a full performance with that.
no, and you
Like
wouldn't want to
I'm
listen
glad
to a full
they're
performance of it.
stepping it down a notch. It's just it's gonna be really weird if Toad has like a deep voice. Um,
Yeah,
Donkey Kong is going to be played by Seth Rogen.
that's actually a decent casting.
Okay.
Uh, he has a deeper voice and he's comedic, and he's a bigger guy, so I feel like he can do a decent job with it. But again, we'll just have to see.
We'll have to see.
These none of these look like you. If you were to have these actors on a list, and you were to say, okay, you've got these, and then mix them in with other actors, and you would need to cast them for these characters. I don't see how these actors make it onto this list. Like unless the rest of the pool was just completely wrong in every possible conceivable way, and then they had to flip a coin. But most of these people, I just don't see fitting the characters
Yeah.
hardly at all. So it's just
Um,
really weird.
so after Seth Rogen, they talked a lot about this lesser known actor, Charles Martinet or something. And gosh, he's been in some video games I've played. Skyrim. He was in Skyrim. He played Parthenax. Like the leader of the Greybeards, if I'm not mistaken. So,
But he
um,
hasn't been in anything Nintendo or anything, right? So that's pretty impressive that he made it
no,
into a
no, no, no.
Nintendo
He
thing.
has been in a Nintendo game. He was the
Oh, what
announcer
was
in
it?
Super Punch Out for the Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that. He's a knockout. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember that.
and like Hoy Carlo and stuff like that.
Yeah. Bob Marley. Ooh.
Bob Charlie, it's legally
Uh,
distinct.
yes, legally distinct from Bob Marley. Super
Um,
Muscle Man.
so let's see. Kamek is being played by some guy I've never heard of, Kevin Michael Richardson.
I'm assuming that's Kamikupa. Is
Kamek,
that
the wizard,
Yeah,
yeah.
Kamikupa. Yeah, I usually see it in like one. Like it caught me off guard for a second just because like normally you see the two names together, and so I usually.
Oh, so are you talking Kami Koopa from Paper Mario?
Oh, okay, yeah, it's Kamek, not Kamikupa.
Yeah,
Okay, that's yeah, that is the confusion. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I
So
gotcha.
Cranky Kong is being played by Fred Armisen, and I only know him from Portlandia, so I'm not too confident about that pick.
I don't know the name at all, so I mean, I'm gonna IMDb it now and see who the heck that even is because
Also, why is Cranky Kong in this movie? I have a
I
theory.
don't know.
So
I
I,
clearly
I've
they're gonna.
actually I've heard also another theory, so I'm going to go over both of them real quick. But finally, Spike, Foreman Spike from the Wrecking Crew, is going to be played by Sebastian Maniscalco. Um, and I've heard him speak like on that one Game Explain video where he let leak the fact that he's playing Spike. And it's like, yeah, okay, that guy has a voice that I think could be Foreman Spike. But
And it's not like it's an incredibly important role either, so
yeah,
it just doesn't make a huge difference
yeah,
anyway.
they probably only bothered to mention him because of that interview.
Yeah, they're like,
um,
well, you already know this one, so
Uh, but so Cranky Kong. I think it's really weird Cranky Kong's in this movie because the Donkey Kong extended universe, the Donkey Kong Country games, aren't really normally kind of incorporated into the Mario series, except in like spin-offs sometimes.
Right.
So one theory I've heard is because they have a Donkey Kong ride that they're trying to open up in Super Nintendo Land, so they're trying to advertise that. Here's
Mhm.
my theory. My theory is if this movie does well, they're going to do a Donkey Kong movie.
I think that's probably a pretty good guess. They could also have it incorporated into the story as far as with Mario starting as Jumpman in Donkey Kong, the arcade game, and with that actually being Cranky in that, not actually Donkey Kong. Um, you could see there being, you know, first real legitimate Mario movie in America. They're kind of tie it in a little bit with his arcade
Yeah,
roots,
I
maybe.
definitely think, especially with the presence of Foreman Spike, it's going to start with Mario and Luigi like working on a construction crew. Hopefully as plumbers, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if they were carpenters or something else. Um, Makes more sense than making them grocers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
look
could
it up.
absolutely
That
see them.
was the Japanese movie I referenced earlier. They were grocers for some reason.
That's so random.
Yeah. Um,
So I could absolutely see it being that they tie it in with the original construction arcade game sort of thing and then move from there into, and it could be even like it's just vaguely tied to that and the characters are there and have cameos. Like there's a lot that could be done there, and yeah, I do think it would be smart of them if it's successful to spin off into Donkey Kong from there, as long as it's actually successful. And Seth Rogen actually makes sense from that perspective because he's a big enough name that he could carry a movie on his name as the lead actor as well. So if you spin off, you make another movie down the road, and it's headlining Seth Rogen instead of headlining Chris Pratt. It's like Chris Pratt's a bigger name right now than Seth Rogen for sure, but like it's not like Seth Rogen's a nobody.
mhm.
So
Yeah, so would you say that Seth Rogen is between the two second banana? Anyway,
yes,
Splatoon 3. So, honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say about this. It looks good. I like Splatoon. I lament the fact that I have not played Splatoon 2 more, but I did play the Octopath expansion pretty recently, but unfortunately, multiplayer games like that take a lot of time, and I want to focus on getting through that backlog. So,
yep,
gosh,
yeah,
how many
absolutely.
times have I
I'm
said that this discussion?
maybe you just need to burn all of your backlog games and just start fresh.
Well, most of them, well, not most of them. I got through most of my Steam library, but a lot of them are digital, so I can't do
Yep.
that.
But yeah, I'm excited to see there be some like more legitimate single player stuff for Splatoon 3.
I mean, was there ever
Yeah.
any doubt?
No. I mean, the definitely in the last video that they showed in the I guess was that E3 that they talked about Splatoon 3 last?
Um, I think it was the
Or is it the
February
February?
direct. I
Yeah, it
think
was the
they
February direct.
maybe gave it a cursory, like just a
Yeah.
quick mention at E3, but I don't think
Yeah.
they went into detail about that.
Yeah. They did show just a little bit of footage. You saw the wrecked world. They definitely looked like they were like gearing up to have a story in this one,
Hmm.
but it wasn't quite necessarily obvious. It was just like, well, are they showing us all this so we'll get hyped for the maps for multiplayer, or is it
Hmm.
going to have a real story? And it has a real story, which is exciting because I am like I don't understand why so many games went the way of having pretty much just multiplayer and then not having any, you know, single player campaigns.
So
But that was a
the basic thing is like back when Halo became really popular, is people found out that people went gaga over the multiplayer
right.
and they would buy the game just for the multiplayer, and so developers looked at that and said, well, why do we bother making a single player game, because making all of those environments for single player is very time consuming. You have to write a story, you have to record dialogue, so why don't
Mm-hmm.
we just make a multiplayer game? But the problem is, I think what they didn't realize, well, I don't know, I can't actually say if there is a problem because I haven't looked at the numbers on this. But one of the things I've heard people say about fighting games is that if you don't include a story mode, your sales actually suffer because the casual
Yes.
fans like single
Hmm.
player content.
Yeah. So
They.
that's the thing is that, yeah, whenever you had games like Halo and stuff, you could absolutely have sold it as a multiplayer only experience. However, the people who play online are not, they're a lot more hardcore players
Mhm.
than your average player. And so you immediately alienate people who would have bought the game and played the story mode on easy whenever you do something like that.
Well, and the other thing
And
is,
so,
if you can get people to buy it for the single player campaign, and then they'll
yes.
say, "Well, I already own this game, and my
Yep.
friends play it, so I'm going to play
100%.
multiplayer."
Yeah, yeah. So they lost all the sales from the people who would have just played the campaign, and then they lost all of the like bodies on servers that they would have had from people who played the story mode and then said, "Well, I own it already, and so I might as well play the multiplayer." So yeah, that's the I remember the real turn being around the time of Titanfall, I think. Titanfall came out, was pretty cool. They had tried to incorporate a small amount of story that was just kind of briefly read off of a script to you at the beginning of each of your multiplayer rounds. And people were pretty frustrated. The general consensus was, the heck am I paying full price when this doesn't have a story? Because they kind of sold it that it would have a story, and then it didn't because they tried to, like I said, just half bake it into the multiplayer. And so I think that's kind of where that started to die off. And then they unfortunately went kind of the other way for a little while too, with things like Destiny, where it was like you can't play with multiple people on the same console, and you can only play if you each have your own separate Xbox and your own separate copy of the game. And we're kind of still there right now, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, but so the trailer did include like an Octoling. Um, Actually, is that no? It's an Octarian. Octolings are the actual humanoid ones. But an Octarian that was like furry, and so I'm a little I'm a little confused by that because it's like Return of the Mammalians, but are Octarians mammals now? What I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm looking at it, it's like more Octarians really. I don't know. I feel like the
Yeah,
the second game it's okay to reuse the villain, but then by the third game, even if you plan on going back to the first villain in the fourth game, you need to break it up every now and
yeah,
then.
yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's really hard to say because that we still have so very little information. I'm assuming that there's going to be a whole new race of something or
Yeah,
others that show up, and that would be a good way of breaking it up. But I have no idea.
yeah. It does totally look like the story. Just again, from what little I've seen, it does look like it's going to be more in line with like the Octopass expansion, which I thought the story for that was really interesting. Um, because Splatoon 2's like regular story was just kind of eh. Um, so I hope that they do continue in that vein because that had some good world building and kind of a little bit of an eerie atmosphere that I liked.
Mhm.
Again, that sort of post-apocalyptic thing, but it's not like everything's just bombed out. It's just sort of like you're wandering around going, "Huh, something happened here."
Right.
But and speaking of third games, the last one was Bayonetta 3. It was announced in 2017, and I forget, was
Man,
that the E3 2017?
I think it was.
Yeah,
Man, that was a long time
and
ago,
we
though.
have not seen anything about it since then. But it's we finally got to see Bayonetta 3. Um, I'm not a Bayonetta fan. You, Nathaniel?
Nah, not really. It doesn't check very many boxes that I'm actually very interested in.
Yeah. Well,
So I've
weirdly, like what they showed looked because Bayonetta is always, as best as I can tell as an outsider, always looked like it had this sort of kind of lightness and colorful playfulness to it. And
Mhm.
that could just be me completely misreading it. But this one looked like it was focusing a lot more on being kind of grim and dark. I mean, it still has that,
Yeah,
that playfulness, but I don't know. That's the
yeah.
only
It's
thing that
really
stood out to me.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Yeah, since I haven't really played any of them, the most I know about it is just Bayonetta herself and her costumes that she's had, like the ones that were Nintendo costumes that were ridiculous,
Mm.
and then her in Smash Brothers and stuff. She seemed pretty standard for it. Like the way she talked and acted seemed very comparable to the other ones from what I know of them. Um, but yeah, there was a couple of cool looking things there. Like I think the whole summoning a giant hair monster and fighting like next to it against mechs is kind of new, so that seems like a nifty idea. Although she did definitely still summon giant fists of hair and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and occasionally a dragony thing. But I think just it looked like perhaps you were mostly controlling the dragony thing in that little, and I don't know if that was true of the previous games. This is where we get into that territory of neither of us know enough about it to even know if it's new stuff. It's just like, I don't know, look kind of cool, but I probably won't play it anytime soon. I do think I own Bayonetta 1 for the PC. Um, so yeah, I do. So maybe I'll have to play that at some point, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not on my to-do list right now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pick it up. So, yeah, it's interesting. It started with a giant dragon and giant monsters with Monster Hunter, and ended with giant monsters with Bayonetta.
That's true.
And I didn't care in either case. So
Yep.
bookends, it's poetry.
Yep.
So before we wrap this up, Scott has given me some impressions from this, and so I'm just going to read this off of our Slack channel. Scott says, I'm excited for the N64 nostalgia, but I'm worried that I'll buy the $50 controller and it will be a useless hunk of plastic in 5 to 10 years when the service is shut down. I think we've already touched on that inadvertently. I would have liked to see the Smash character, or at least a tease before the full unveiling. And lastly, I'm happy to have Metroid Dread in the near future and didn't feel the need to play much else that was shown. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
And
Cool.
that's kind of the thing is now that Nintendo's getting a lot of third-party support, back for us, for Nintendo fans, back in like when it was the Wii U days, pretty much everything was a Nintendo announcement in these E3
Hmm.
presentations. Or if it wasn't, it was a big honking deal. So, um,
Even back on the regular Wii, there was not near as much third party support. So
yeah,
it's
so
it's kind of a big deal.
it's definitely one of those things where it was a lot easier to have sustained hype throughout the entire presentation. They were also a lot shorter. It was a lot easier to have sustained hype throughout the entire presentation, but uh, now it's very easy to get to the point where it's just sort of like, I don't care about most of the stuff here, which is fine. Just find what you like. So with
Yeah.
with that little I don't know, digression out of the way, what are your overall impressions, Nathaniel?
Oh, I think that overall it was a pretty cool direct. Obviously, there was a couple of twists and turns that were unexpected. Other than that, it was pretty standard. There's a couple of games on there that are pretty exciting. I think Kirby is probably the most interesting thing on the list
Mm-hmm.
because it was the probably the biggest announcement that we hadn't already had teased before.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like Metroid Dread, like obviously we knew about that already, stuff like that. So that is probably the most interesting thing to come out of the direct, and is pretty much worth it in and of itself. So like even if you, like you said, you find a couple things in the list that you think are interesting, I think most people thought Kirby was kind of a big deal
Mm-hmm.
in that because it's just such a new, interesting thing comparatively to what Kirby's been doing for a long time. And so, yeah, I think that's where I sit. Is there's a couple on here that I'm pretty pumped about. Most of the ones that I'm pumped about, we already had teased once or twice before, and then there's Kirby, which is like, oh, cool, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I feel like this one was a little bit bimodal, I guess would be a word for it. Because it's like there was some stuff that I really, really liked in this, especially Kirby. Like I am That's the most excited I've been for a Kirby game in a long time, and I like Kirby. Like, let me make that clear. I'm not saying that as like, oh, Kirby's for babies. No, I like Kirby, and that has me super excited. But then there was like, there was the Nintendo Switch Online being more money thing. Well, they didn't mention pricing, but it's pretty clear it's going to cost more.
Right.
Which just ticks me off. And then the Mario cast list has me very concerned about whether or not that movie's going to be any good. I will say, though, on the bright side, we have had some just beautiful memes from that. Like, just go onto YouTube on the main page. If you like have watched anything Nintendo Direct related, you're going to see like Source Filmmaker stuff where they're editing Chris Pratt over Mario, or just tons of stuff like that, and it's beautiful. Right. But yeah, so for me, it's kind of a mixed bag because it's like there are some really high highs, and then there's some things that it's like the angriest I've been at a Nintendo Direct in a while. Because most of the time it's just disappointment, but now it's just like, really? You're raising the... But yeah, so I guess it kind of averages out. Yeah, it was average.
Yep, average. Couple of really exciting things. Some things a little less than stellar, and we'll have to see on some of that stuff. I mean, it could be possible that the Nintendo Online stuff comes out and they're like, yeah, it's like $1 a month more or something, and that's not a huge deal. And maybe they'll even throw in, yeah, it's $1 a month more, and we're also gonna work on connectivity issues and stuff. I don't know, like have more servers and stuff. But it's just really hard to tell at this point. And all in all, I think we still live in a pretty golden age of gaming. So
yeah. So, so from the looks of it, we've been going for nearly an hour and 40 minutes. So I think it's about time we wrap this up. Nathanael, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Nathan Blake Games. You can also find me on Twitter at Nathan Blake Game. There's no S on there. I need one more character. Twitter, one more character, and I could have fit my whole thing on there. And then you can also find me. I'm mostly right now just streaming on Twitch at Nathan Blake Games. So that's twitch.tv/Nathan Blake Games. And right now I've been mostly doing like retro N64 and GameCube stuff for funsies and just been having a good time with it. So you can come over and hang out with me Monday through Friday at noon Central Standard Time. I usually play for 2 to 5 hours.
Cool. And of course, stay tuned to Two Bunning Crew for more live streams and reviews and so forth on Nintendo stuff. Scott and I will be tomorrow, as of this recording date, we will be recording a podcast episode. That's right, the podcast is not dead. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Sayonara!